Hello everyone. I am the Midnight Storyteller and I am here to help you today. I know you use this video to fall asleep. So before that, like the video and subscribe to the channel. Also, where are you from and what time are you watching now? Get comfortable and relax. I took the job because it paid $22 an hour and required zero human interaction. Just walk the perimeter of a self-storage facility from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m., check the locks, and file a quick report. The site was on the edge of a dying industrial town, rusted-out factories, broken streetlights, stray dogs with smarter eyes than people. The manager barely looked at me during orientation. "Don't go in Unit 137, he said flatly. "No matter what you hear." I laughed. He didn't. The first few nights were uneventful. My rounds became routine, flashlights sweeping across rows of corrugated metal doors, most tagged with peeling stickers or crude graffiti. The silence was nice. I listened to audiobooks. Ate vending machine junk. But on the fifth night, something changed. I was walking past the western row, Units 130 to 145, when I heard it. A knock. Soft. Deliberate. From inside Unit 137. I froze. No footsteps. No talking. Just that knock, 3 slow taps, and then silence. I radioed the office. "Do we have anyone scheduled to access 137 tonight?" The line crackled. Then the voice of the day manager replied, groggy like I'd woken him up. "We don't rent 137. It's empty. Always has been." I stared at the door. Thick padlock still sealed. No signs of tampering. Then the knock came again. This time, from the back of the unit. Like something deep inside was moving closer. I took 2 steps back and stared at Unit 137. The knock didn't come again, but the silence felt worse. It was the kind of silence that listens. I radioed again, no answer this time. Just static. The air had gone cold. Not winter cold, but dead, basement cold. I reached for my key ring out of habit, knowing full well I didn't have one for 137. The manager was clear, no access, no exceptions. Still, I leaned in, put my ear to the metal. Whispers. Not one voice, several. Muffled, like they were underwater, or deep underground. I heard a woman sobbing, a child giggling, and something else, scratching. I stumbled back. My flashlight flickered, then died. The entire row buzzed, and the overhead lights blinked off. Total darkness. I stood still. Didn't move. Barely breathed. Then, a single light above Unit 137 snapped back on. It cast a narrow cone across the locked door. And in that brief moment of light, I saw it. A handprint. Not painted. Not etched. Pressed. As if someone, or something, inside the unit had placed their hand on the metal from the other side, and left behind a perfect imprint. 5 fingers. Thin. Too long. The metal was warped, like the pressure came from inside. That's when I broke protocol. I backed out. Didn't finish my rounds. Went into the main office, locked the door, and watched the security feeds. Unit 137's camera was the only one with no signal. Just a black screen with the words, "Live view disabled." It had never shown that before. I thought about leaving. But I didn't. Because around 3:27 a.m., the screen flickered once, and for a split second, I saw my own face on the monitor. standing in front of Unit 137. But I hadn't left the office. Not even once. I rewound the feed frame by frame. There was no doubt, the figure standing outside Unit 137 at 3:27 a.m. looked exactly like me. Same jacket. Same haircut. Even the same flashlight, held in the same left-handed grip. But something was wrong with the expression. It wasn't neutral or focused like I usually look on patrol. It was blank. Too blank. Like a mask that hadn't learned to smile yet. Then the figure on screen turned toward the camera. Directly toward it. Eyes locked. Expression unchanged. And it raised its hand slowly, like it was waving. But I hadn't left the office. I was still there. I was still watching. I sat back, heart pounding in my ears, screen glowing in front of me. Suddenly, all the cameras went black. Every single feed, except for 137. That one didn't just go dark, it shut off. The monitor itself turned blue, like an old computer screen, and displayed one line of text: "Do not look away." I blinked. That's all it took. When I opened my eyes again, the message was gone. And so was the power. The entire office fell into darkness. I stood up, backing toward the breaker panel in the corner, the one the manager had shown me during orientation. I never made it. Because I heard my own voice outside the office window say, "Power's out. I'll check the panel." My blood ran cold. I turned toward the window. And there I was. Looking in. Smiling. I froze. The copy of me outside the window stood still, grinning. It didn't blink. Didn't move. Just waited. A part of me wanted to believe it was a trick. Maybe someone who looked like me. Maybe a reflection. But then I saw my own ID badge on its chest. Hanging the same crooked way mine always did. My jaw clenched. I turned off the flashlight, instinctively, and ducked beneath the desk. I didn't want it to see me. Didn't want me to see me. Outside, the footsteps circled the office slowly. I could hear gravel crunching beneath boots. My boots. Then it stopped at the door. Knock. 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 3 slow taps, not hard, not loud, but perfectly spaced. Just like Unit 137. I covered my mouth. It knocked again. And then it spoke. "Hey. It's me. You left your rounds unfinished." Silence. "Come on out. Let's finish them together." I stayed still. Then something slid under the office door. A folded piece of yellow paper. When I finally worked up the courage to crawl forward and grab it, I unfolded it with shaking hands. It was a shift report. Filled out completely. My name signed at the bottom. Except the timestamp showed it had been filed tomorrow. And at the very bottom, in different handwriting, a line was added: "He's learning. But he's not ready yet." I stared at the shift report. The handwriting wasn't mine. Not exactly. It was too neat, too practiced. But the signature was perfect. Identical. Even the looping stroke in the R I'd never been able to stop doing. It was there. And the report listed observations I hadn't yet made. Unit 212 door rattled at 4:06 a.m. Light in northwest corridor flickered off twice. Even noted, mild temperature drop near Unit 137 at 3:13. That hadn't happened, yet. I glanced at the office clock. It was 3:04 a.m. Something about that made my stomach twist. Because if the report was right, then everything written on that page would happen in the next hour. I stood up and peered out the window again. My double was gone. No footsteps. No sound. No sign of where it had gone. Just empty gravel rows and rust-colored units under the dead flicker of security lights. Still gripping the paper, I opened the office door. The night air slapped me with cold, metallic dryness. Like breathing in a scrapyard. I walked the path back toward the western corridor. Past the units with dented siding and rusted numbers. The lights flickered, once. Then again. I checked my watch. 3:13 a.m. The exact time listed on the report. The air grew heavy. Not just colder, dense, like walking underwater. That's when I heard it again. From behind me. A voice, whispering in my own tone. You shouldn't be here yet. Go back. I turned. No one. Just rows of steel doors, all tightly locked. Except one. Unit 137. The lock hung open. And the door was slowly sliding up. The door to Unit 137 screeched as it lifted. Not fast. Not forced. Just deliberate. Like it was opening itself. My breath caught. I took a step back, but my boots felt glued to the gravel. Inside the unit, there was no visible light, yet somehow, I could see. Not clearly, but enough to make out shapes. A narrow hallway stretching further than the unit's physical space should allow. Impossible geometry. Like looking into a dream you're about to remember wrong. The walls inside were concrete, cracked and damp. Metal shelves lined both sides, filled with things I couldn't fully register, old toys, Polaroid photos, bones. So many bones. I don't know what made me step forward. Curiosity? Hypnosis? Or maybe it wanted me to. I passed through the threshold. As soon as I did, the temperature dropped 10 degrees. My flashlight flickered, then steadied. Behind me, the door slammed shut. I spun. The lock had re-engaged on its own. I was inside. Trapped. Then, ahead, a sound, a scraping, echoed down the narrow hall. Followed by a voice. Mine. But slower. Broken. Don't look too close, you'll see what's under you. The walls around me began to ripple, like breathing. The further I walked, the more I saw familiar objects on the shelves. My old backpack. A photo of my childhood dog. A receipt from the diner I ate at before my first shift. Everything I'd ever lost, or forgotten. And just ahead, I could hear it breathing. Whatever had been watching me since that first night, it wasn't locked in here. It had let me in. Because it needed me to see. The hallway stretched far beyond the physical limits of the storage unit. I should have hit the back wall by now. Instead, I kept walking past shelves stacked with more of my life, not just lost items, but memories. My high school ID. A crumpled breakup letter I never sent. A shirt I lost during a camping trip when I was 12. All of it aged, worn, and somehow real. This place wasn't storing junk. It was storing pieces of me. And I wasn't the only one. Further down, the shelves began to multiply, stacking higher, twisting into spirals. More photos. More items. Names scribbled in different handwriting. Some in languages I didn't recognize. This was an archive. A place collecting people, not things. I turned a corner and stopped. There, in the center of the next chamber, stood a desk. My desk, from the office outside. But behind it, sat me. Not the grinning version. Not the shadow. This one looked tired. Exhausted. It wore my uniform, same stains and all, but the eyes were older. Too old. It looked up at me, pen still in hand, writing in a shift log. "Took you long enough," it said. I didn't speak. I couldn't. It stood and pointed to a mirror behind the desk. A mirror shaped like a storage unit door. "It only lets you in when you're ready," it said. "Now you have to choose." "Choose what?" I finally asked. The other me smiled, gently this time. "Whether to leave, or to remember everything." Behind the mirror, I saw shadows begin to move. And then I saw something worse, people I knew. All of them watching me. Waiting. I stared into the mirror. Faces emerged in the reflection, family, old friends, co-workers I barely remembered. Some I hadn't seen in years. Some I thought were dead. All standing in rows, shoulder to shoulder, in perfect silence. They weren't blinking. They weren't breathing. And all of them were looking directly at me. The other me, the one behind the desk, stepped closer. "You don't remember what this place is, do you?" I shook my head. "You weren't hired. You were called back." My stomach twisted. I tried to speak, but the air was heavy. My throat dry. "We were all watchers once," it said. "Until we saw too much." I turned away from the mirror. I didn't want to see them anymore. But even with my back to it, I could feel their gaze burning through me. The other me walked to one of the shelves and pulled down a box. Inside, a uniform just like mine, folded neatly. But stitched across the front wasn't my name. It was a name I didn't recognize, yet felt deeply familiar. I looked back at the mirror. Now, the reflection showed only me, alone. The crowd was gone. The hallway was gone. Just the unit. Closed. Dark. Like I'd never entered it at all. "This is your last chance," the other me whispered. "Forget it, or become it." And then the mirror began to hum. Low, like a growl. The glass vibrated. Cracks spread across the surface like veins. Something behind it was trying to come through. And if I stayed any longer, I wasn't sure I'd leave as myself. The mirror cracked once more, a sharp, splintering sound like ice under pressure. Then it stopped humming. And I realized why. The cracks weren't random. They were forming a shape. A symbol, circular, with intersecting lines, like a seal, etched from inside the glass. The other me took a step back. "It's waking up," he said quietly. "If you're not ready to see it, run." I looked at the floor. The hallway was dissolving, tiles breaking apart like paper soaked in water. The shelves buckled and folded into themselves, sucking in the boxes, the relics, the lives. This place was collapsing. I turned to the unit door. Still closed. Still locked from the outside. The only other exit was through the mirror. The other me didn't stop me. He just sat back at the desk and picked up the pen again. Started writing in the logbook. I stepped toward the glass. It shimmered as I neared, not like a reflection, but like a surface of water. And then I reached out. Fingertips brushed cold, vibrating glass. It gave way, not shattering, but opening. Stretching. Beyond it was light. Not white. Not warm. A deep, dull red, like the inside of a dying star. And there were shapes moving inside it. Shadows, and eyes. So many eyes. All watching me. And then, from behind, the voice again, my voice, if you go through, you'll remember. Everything. I stepped forward anyway. Because I already knew, this wasn't just a place for storage. It was a threshold. And I had already crossed it. Crossing through the mirror was like diving into ice. No resistance. No sound. Just instant cold, so deep it felt like it reached inside my bones. And then, silence. No wind. No breath. No heartbeat. The world on the other side wasn't a room. It was a void. Endless. Dark. But not empty. Shapes floated in the distance. Massive structures, not buildings, not machines. Things that felt alive, even though they didn't move. And beneath them, shadows drifted. I saw outlines of people, or former people, suspended in place. Like echoes that had forgotten what sound was. One of them turned toward me. Its face. It was mine. Not the tired version. Not the grinning double. This one was scared. Frozen mid-scream. I tried to back away, but there was no ground. No air. Just space that bent and listened. Then I heard it again. The voice. Not spoken, but placed directly into my mind. You are not the first. You will not be the last. You watched. Now you are watched. I turned. The mirror behind me was gone. Replaced by rows and rows of floating units, all identical. Each one bearing a number. Each one pulsing faint red from within. And on every door, a handprint. Pressed from the inside. Exactly like the one I first saw on Unit 137. I floated, or maybe stood, in the vast nowhere. The storage unit stretched in every direction like a grid of memory and metal. Some flickered like broken light bulbs. Others trembled gently, as though something inside was trying to breathe. I reached for one nearby, Unit 000. Its door was cold to the touch. Familiar, like old concrete. A faint hum vibrated against my palm. Then it opened. No lock. No resistance. Inside wasn't a room, it was a scene. A frozen image, suspended in place. I saw my childhood bedroom, untouched. Toys on the shelf. Posters on the wall. Even the chipped corner of my old dresser. I took one step inside, and it came alive. Sounds returned. My mom's voice, calling from the kitchen. My dog barking in the backyard. The hum of my old ceiling fan. And then I saw it, a version of me, age 10, sitting on the bed. Reading. Blissfully unaware that someone, me, was standing in the doorway. Watching. That's when I understood. These weren't just storage units. They were memory vaults. Archives of everyone who had been here. But not just memories. Moments. Preserved. Watched. Catalogued. Behind me, I heard footsteps. I turned to see 3 figures in long coats. No faces. Just deep black voids where their heads should have been. Each one holding a clipboard. One stepped forward and held it out. On the top line, in black ink, subject, Observer 137, status, failed containment, and underneath it, in my own handwriting, I shouldn't have opened the door. The clipboard was ice cold in my hands. I scanned the page again. Observer 137, failed containment, below that, more entries, memory loop integrity, compromised physical host duplicate. Active extraction viability, low then, in red ink, stamped diagonally across the bottom, transfer TO record tier, pending rewrite. I looked up. The faceless figures still stared, if you could call it that, with heads like open voids. One of them extended its hand and pointed behind me. I turned. Another storage unit had appeared. No number. No markings. Just a black steel door, partially open. A warm red glow spilled out, pulsing slowly, like breath. I didn't want to go in. Every part of me screamed to run, to wake up, to escape. But there was nowhere left to run to. And something inside that unit was pulling at me. Not physically, but deeper. Emotionally. Like it remembered me. I stepped closer. The air grew thick, dense. The hallway behind me dissolved, erased like chalk in rain. As I approached the door, I saw writing above it, barely etched into the frame, Containment Protocol 137, last entry. My throat tightened. Because that wasn't a room number. It was a designation. Mine. I stepped inside. The air inside tasted like static. And ahead, I saw a chair. With my uniform folded neatly on the seat. And above it, a monitor. Waiting to record whatever came next. The monitor blinked to life as I stepped toward the chair. Lines of white text scrolled down a black background. It was logging every second. Every breath. Record active. Subject 137A has entered observation room. Status. Pending integration. Memory sync, incomplete. I reached for the uniform. It felt warm, not like fabric, but like skin left in the sun. Inside the collar was stitched something new, property of the archive. The chair creaked as I sat down. The moment I did, the monitor's text changed. Begin final assessment. Yes and no. I hovered over the controls. But I hadn't touched anything. The screen selected yes on its own. The room darkened. Then, sound returned, not noise, but voices. My voice. Screaming. Begging. Crying out from 1,000 different recordings, layered atop one another. I don't want to remember. Let me out. Why me? What did I open? Then silence. And the final line appeared, integration successful. The lights shut off. The door closed. The archive had recorded everything. And somewhere, far away, another night guard would soon clock in. And he'd see Unit 137 flickering in the dark. Waiting. I didn't think much of the listing when I saw it. Night security, $25 per hour, low activity, must be comfortable with isolation. It sounded perfect. I was broke. Recently laid off. And frankly, the quiet appealed to me. The school was in a place called Ashford Hollow, a town I'd never heard of. When I googled it, only blurry satellite images and one forum post popped up, "Don't stop in Ashford Hollow after dark." I thought it was a joke. When I arrived, the town looked like a movie set left behind. Boarded windows. Rusted out cars. No lights, no sound. The school, though, it still stood proud. 2 stories tall, red brick, wide front steps cracked with moss. Inside, it smelled like dust and chalk. Classrooms still had posters up. Science Fair, March 2006, Fire Drill Procedure, Practice Saves Lives. Someone had frozen this place in time. My supervisor, a guy named Hal, gave me a single key, a walkie-talkie, and a folded-up map. Just make your rounds. Don't go upstairs. I blinked. What's upstairs? He gave me a tired smile. Storage. Old files. Nothing worth seeing. He left right after. Didn't even give me a number to call. I settled into the front office. It had a dusty chair, a radio, and a TV mounted in the corner that didn't work. At 11 p.m., I started walking the halls. My flashlight beam shook slightly in my hand, probably the nerves. I told myself it was just an old school. The wind made weird sounds. Pipes groaned. Normal. But then, somewhere down the east wing corridor, a classroom light turned on. Bold white lines on the green surface, clear and sharp. "You're late." My throat tightened. I scanned the room. Desks were all perfectly aligned. Chairs tucked in. Not a speck of dust anywhere inside. It was the only clean room I'd seen. I took a cautious step in. The temperature dropped instantly. I could see my breath, which made no sense. It was a warm night. Something about the air felt thicker here, like I was underwater. My flashlight dimmed the further I stepped inside. Then, out of the corner of my eye, I saw it, a figure. Sitting at the last desk by the window. I whipped the light toward it, but the seat was empty. I held my breath and slowly approached. Nothing. No footprints. No signs of dust disturbed. Just the single desk, with a sheet of lined paper resting on top. It had handwriting on it, loopy cursive in black ink, present, 1 absent, 23, then, written at the bottom, "Please don't be late again." Suddenly, the classroom door slammed behind me. Hard. I ran to it, yanked it open. The hallway was dark again. Lights off. Silent. The classroom light blinked once, then went out. When I checked the board again, the message was gone. Wiped clean. But the piece of paper, it was still in my hand. I left the classroom, heart pounding. The paper was still clutched in my hand, damp from sweat. I don't remember walking down the hallway, more like floating. My brain was stuck replaying that number over and over, present, 1, absent, 23. Were there supposed to be 24 students? Was that a roll call? And if I was present, then I stopped walking. Someone was standing at the end of the hallway. I nearly dropped the flashlight. At first I thought it was a statue. Tall, unmoving, with an old-style uniform, blue shirt, red sash, and a shiny silver badge pinned on the chest. Then it tilted its head. Slowly. Deliberately. Not a statue. I whispered, "Hello," but the word barely left my mouth. It started walking toward me. Calm. Heavy boots echoing on the linoleum floor. Not fast, like it had all the time in the world. As it neared, I could see its face. Or rather, the lack of one. No features. Just a smooth, gray surface where eyes and a mouth should have been. But somehow, it was still watching me. I turned and ran, hard, ducking around the corner toward the admin office. When I reached the front doors, they were chained shut. The chain wasn't there earlier. Neither was the sign now taped to the glass, "No leaving while attendance is in progress." The walkie-talkie on my hip crackled. Static first, then a voice I didn't recognize. A young girl, soft-spoken, "You can't skip class." Then silence. I looked down at the paper again. The number had changed. Present, 2 absent, 22, and next to it, a name was scribbled under mine. One I didn't know. The name beneath mine on the attendance sheet read, Jeremy Caldwell, it didn't mean anything to me. I'd never known a Jeremy Caldwell. But something about the handwriting felt familiar, like I'd seen it on a yearbook or hallway poster long ago. I grabbed the map Hal had given me and scanned it for anything useful. There was a library on the first floor. Maybe some old records? I made my way there, my flashlight beam shaky but functional. The hallway was darker than before. The walls seemed to lean inward. Like the building was breathing. The library door creaked as I pushed it open. Inside, the air was stale and hot, like a sealed attic. Books lined every shelf. Dust hung in the air like fog. I stepped carefully toward a desk near the back labeled Student Records. And there it was. A thin, cracked yearbook from 2005. I flipped through the pages, fingers trembling. There. Jeremy Caldwell. Grade 7. Smiling in the photo. Dark hair, red hoodie. I scanned the rest of the page. Several other kids had their pictures grayed out. Like they'd been erased, almost digitally blurred. 23 in total. Just like the number of absent students on the paper. And below Jeremy's photo was a small, faded caption, "In loving memory." Gone, but not forgotten. I froze. If Jeremy was dead, why was he present now? The library lights flickered. The intercom system above me crackled for the first time. And in a warped, robotic voice, it spoke 3 chilling words. "Next, student, please." I didn't wait to see what came next. I slammed the yearbook shut and bolted from the library, the intercom static still whispering above me like breathing. As I reached the hallway, the lights began to pulse, slowly dimming and brightening in an unnatural way, almost like a heartbeat. Then I saw it again. The hall monitor. Only now, it wasn't walking. It was floating. Inch by inch, hovering inches above the ground, its featureless face locked in my direction. The red sash glowed faintly in the dark like embers. Something hung from its hand. A ruler. Old, wooden, and cracked. I turned the other way and sprinted. The floor felt longer than before, like the hallways were stretching. I passed room 3A and 3B, and saw something that made me stop in my tracks. Each classroom door had a paper taped to it. Detention list, and under each, the same name at the top, Alex M., current staff. That was me. I yanked one of the sheets down and scanned the list. It was filled with names, most of them scratched out violently, but Jeremy Caldwell's was second on the list. Next to his name, released. Next to mine, pending. I felt a presence behind me, like cold air crawling up my spine. The walkie crackled again, a whisper this time, "Don't let him catch you. If he marks you, you stay." I ran, ducked into a janitor's closet, and shut the door. Silence. Then, a knock. Followed by a slow, rhythmic tapping of that wooden ruler against the door. The tapping continued. Not frantic. Not forceful. Just steady. Measured. Like he was counting the seconds I had left. I backed into the far wall of the closet, heart hammering. There was barely any room to breathe. Bleach bottles. A mop. A rusty sink dripping into a bucket. Then, it stopped. Silence. I waited, barely daring to breathe. 30 seconds passed. Then a minute. Still nothing. I slowly cracked the door open. The hallway was empty. I stepped out, then froze. A red handprint had been smeared across the door. Thick, almost glowing. Not paint. Ink? Blood? Beneath it, in rough letters, Mark recorded. Next bell. I looked down the hallway. Every classroom door had changed. Instead of numbers, they now displayed names. Each one a name from that attendance sheet. Each one dimly lit from inside. I found my name, Alex M. etched into the frosted glass of room 4C. Inside, a flickering light moved, as if someone was pacing. I turned to run, but all the hallway exits were now gone. No stairwell. No front office. Just classroom doors, endlessly repeating. That same whisper crackled through the walkie again. If you enter your room, you stay. If you're marked and the bell rings, you replace the absent. I screamed into the radio, "What do I do?" The reply came in a different voice. This one deeper. Older. Tired, break the roll call. Or be enrolled. A faint bell chimed overhead. One ring. Two. The second chime echoed through the hallway like a funeral bell. I felt it in my bones. Room 4C, the door with my name, pulsed with a faint red glow now. A desk was visible inside, and seated in the chair, was me. Or something that looked like me. Same haircut. Same uniform. Same slouched posture. Except it wasn't breathing. It just stared straight ahead at the chalkboard, which now read, "Substitute available." My vision swam. I backed away from the door, shaking my head. No. No, 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 the walkie crackled again. It was that same soft voice from before, the girl's whisper, "3 bells seals it. You have one left." I looked at the attendance sheet again. Another name was crossed out. Jeremy Caldwell. Beside mine, a red dot now blinked. Pending. I needed to stop the bell. Break the pattern. Shatter whatever was locking this place in a loop. The intercom sputtered again. This time, it gave a room number. Room 1A, headmaster's office. There hadn't been a 1A on the map. But I looked up, and sure enough, a new hallway had formed at the end of the corridor. And at the very end, a polished black door. Gold letters read, "Administration." I ran. The walls felt like they were narrowing around me. I didn't look back. Because I could hear footsteps behind me. Heavier now. The hall monitor was running too. I threw open the door to room 1A and slammed it shut behind me. The hallway outside immediately went silent. The pounding footsteps stopped. Inside, the air was dense, hot like a boiler room. But there was no sound. No hum. No lights. I fumbled for my flashlight. The beam caught a large wooden desk at the center, covered in dust, except for a single item, a tape recorder. Still warm. Still blinking. Next to it, a yellowed note, typed out on an old typewriter. "If you've made it here, you've been marked. Roll call must not complete. Attendance must remain broken." I hit play. A voice came through. Male. Mid-50s maybe. Calm but worn down. "My name is Thomas Vale. Former headmaster. This school was abandoned after the incident. They never found the students. Just their shadows. But something stayed behind. The staff started disappearing during night shifts. One by one. Replaced. I tried to lock it down. Seal the records. But the list, it keeps updating. Always 24 names. Always one present. The rest? Absent. Then gone. He paused. "There's a ledger in the drawer." You must sign it before the third bell. Cross out your name. Break the roll call. I yanked open the drawer. Dust billowed out. Inside, a thick black book, old and leather-bound. I flipped to the last page. There was my name. Alex M. Beneath it, space for a signature. My hand trembled as I grabbed the pen. I wasn't sure what signing would do, but I had no better option. Just as the pen touched paper, the bell rang. Once. Twice. 3 times. The ink exploded across the page. And everything went black. Darkness swallowed everything. No flashlight. No desk. No floor. Just a suffocating void, like I'd been dropped into the center of a starless ocean. I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. Then, something shifted. A pinpoint of red light blinked far ahead. Then another. Then 24 lights in total, arranged in 4 rows of 6, like classroom desks glowing in the dark. A voice echoed from all around me, not from the walkie this time, but from within my head. Class begins. Each light flared briefly, illuminating a seated figure. Children. Their faces pale and half-finished, like clay left uncooked. Some were just outlines. Others were featureless entirely. They all turned toward me at once. And smiled. "The roll is complete," they said in perfect unison. "No," I whispered. "I signed it. I broke it." A single light flickered out. The desk was empty. A child, gone. And in the far back corner, another desk now lit up. Occupied. But it wasn't a child sitting there. It was me. Slouched. Still. Staring forward. Then, slowly, its head turned toward me. And that same whisper, now impossibly close, said, "Present." I screamed and reached for the ledger. Only to find it back in my hands. Open to a fresh page. Blank. The voice of the headmaster returned, weaker now, almost like a memory. "You must leave it unfinished. Leave it open. Or be filed, forever." The red lights dimmed one by one. I ran. Or maybe I fell. It felt like both. I crashed through something solid, cold linoleum, and hit the ground hard. I was back in the hallway. The real one. Or, something close to it. The walls were bleeding black ink from the seams. The lockers rattled gently, like something was trying to climb out. And the classroom doors? Every one of them had a name scratched in, not printed, not painted, but scraped into the wood. I recognized mine. I recognized Jeremy's. Then, I recognized Hal's. The guy who hired me. His door had a padlock on it, rusted shut. The glass was shattered. A red X was painted across his name. I suddenly understood, everyone who had taken this job before me, they never left. They were reassigned. Not fired. Not quit. Replaced. A faint bell chimed again. A new one. Slower. Not overhead, but below. The intercom crackled to life again. Substitute needed. Room 4C. That was my room. I sprinted. The hallway twisted underfoot, rubbery and wrong, but I kept moving. The doors howled as I passed. My classroom door stood wide open now, glowing faintly from within. Inside, the ledger on the desk. The page still blank. I reached it, slammed the book shut, and ripped the name tag off the door. The glow faded instantly. Silence. The intercom screamed. Roll call broken. Error. Error. Lights popped overhead. A deep groaning sound echoed through the building. The wall started to crack. I bolted toward the front, and for the first time since I got there, the main doors were open. The night air hit me like a wave. I didn't stop running until the school was a dot in the distance. I didn't look back. Not when I hit the parking lot. Not when the lights inside the school flared and then blinked out like dying stars. And not when the building let out one last, groaning sigh, and fell completely silent. I kept driving. Didn't stop until I crossed the county line and saw the first gas station with working lights. It was nearly 6 a.m. The sun was just starting to bleed into the sky. I sat in my car, hands trembling on the wheel. Had any of that really happened? Then I noticed something in my passenger seat. The ledger. The same black-bound book from the office. Somehow, it had followed me. I opened it slowly. Every page was blank, except one. Mine. Alex M. Next to my name, in red ink, roll broken. Status, incomplete. I flipped to the back of the book. A final note was scrawled across the inside cover in rushed, panicked handwriting. If you're reading this, it means you made it out. But the school doesn't forget. And it always needs a substitute. I closed the book and left it on the gas station counter without a word. The clerk didn't even notice. I haven't gone back. I never answered Hal's follow-up messages. I haven't worked a night shift since. But sometimes, around 3:07 a.m., my phone buzzes with an unknown number. And when I answer, all I hear is, present. White heavy checkmark end.